What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former unified WBC, WBA, welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman. He did an interview today with Nesta Gibbs from the Boxing Voice, in which they broke down the Floyd Mayweather-Logan Paul fight, Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, and I'm sure there's more to come. What was interesting is when he discussed the Errol Spence Manny Pacquiao fight, and he went into depth about that fight. Obviously, the last time Keith Thurman fought was against 8th Division World Champion, legendary, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, and he lost his WBA title. Now, he lost his WBC title due to inactivity, which saw two-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter face off against 2 Division world champion Danny Swift Garcia for the vacant WBC title due to inactivity. That's how he lost the WBC title. Keith Thurman, he lost the WBA title July of 2019 to Manny Pacquiao, split decision in favor of Manny Pacquiao. Keith Thurman, 29 wins, 1 loss, 22 wins by way of knockout, stands at 5'7" with a 69-inch arm reach, and again, last time we saw him in the ring was against Manny Pacquiao, okay? That was July of 2019. Keith Thurman is 32 years of age. Interesting is, obviously, Keith Thurman, he's been trying to solidify, at this point, opportunity to attempt to regain his titles. He had the opportunity to fight Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. was calling him out, pursuing that fight, and Keith Thurman, well, he just never abided. He never gave Errol Spence the opportunity. And so today's time, Errol Spence, undefeated, unified WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And Errol Spence had been pursuing the fight with Keith Thurman for quite some time, but was unable to secure the fight. Keith Thurman said that he was allowing that fight to build because he thought that that was his Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather level of a fight for himself. He ended up coming up short against Manny Pacquiao himself, actual Manny Pacquiao, okay, in a huge fight. Keith Thurman dismissed undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 or number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Bud Crawford, 33 years of age, 37 wins, no losses, no draws, 28 wins by way of knockout, stands at 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. Last time we saw him in the ring was November 14th when he took on and defeated former IBF welterweight world champion British superstar boxer Special K. Kell Brook. That was November 14th. With that said, Keith Thurman has always been stating and viewing Terence Crawford as not a true welterweight. Maybe it's because Keith Thurman, he simply looks at Terence Crawford as a Johnny-come-lately to the division. He wasn't homegrown in the division. Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter, these guys are guys that were always campaigning in the division. But what's interesting is Keith Thurman, he pursued a showdown with, at the time, was undefeated 2-division world champion, who was the WBC world champion, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia, who came from junior welterweight as Terence Crawford and was a unified champion at junior welterweight. Terence Crawford was undisputed at junior welterweight. Keith Thurman, he highly pursued that fight with Danny Garcia to pick up the WBC strap. That's how he became the WBC WBA champion, okay? That was a unification bout. So when it comes to Danny Garcia, he didn't look at him as such. Now, in the build-up for that fight, Keith Thurman, he did state that Danny Garcia wasn't a true welterweight. He was too small for the division, and that he was going to knock out Danny Garcia because he just simply wasn't a full-fledged welterweight. So he did say that in the build-up for his fight with Danny Garcia. With that said, he continues to let it be known that he don't view Terence Crawford as a serious risk to the welterweight division. And here in this interview, Keith Thurman, he states, well, the fight between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. Now, remember, Errol Spence beat Keith Thurman in 2019 or July of 2019. So Manny Pacquiao hadn't fought since that time either. So Manny Pacquiao, due to inactivity, the WBA put him as champion in recess. They elevated regular champion, Cuban star boxer Yordenis Ugas, to full-fledged champion. Okay, now it's being reported that they're going to reinstate Manny Pacquiao as the super champion, and Yordenis Ugas will go back to being a regular champion, and he'll have some incentives in his next fight. Maybe get extra big pay. Okay, but this is a fight, a huge fight, and the WBA, they put him in champion as recess. So that means that when he's active, and if the champion that they elevated to super champion, who was the regular champion, if he never defends the title and the champion in recess comes back, this is the rules of the WBC. So it looks like the WBA is going to follow suit in the rules of the WBC, as Ness broke this down as well in this interview, that they'll reinstate the champion since the newly crowned super champion never defended the title. They'll give it back to the champion in recess as he resumes his career. So with that said, the WBA, they stated that they wanted Manny Pacquiao to defend the title against somebody in the top 10 of their ranking system. And he was pursuing a showdown with UFC legend, icon, superstar in Conor McGregor. But that fell through as Conor McGregor was knocked out in his respective sport, their respective discipline, in a highly anticipated rematch with Dustin Poirier. Now he's going in a trilogy match, so that went by the wayside. Now Manny Pacquiao came back. He's going to fight Errol Spence Jr., and it looks like he's going to be reinstated as the champion. With all that said, Keith Thurman, he says he views this fight as undisputed. He makes it abundantly clear. You bring the 3 belts back for undisputed, that's massive. Now Ness caught this, and Ness, he tried to correct Keith Thurman by saying he'll be unified. Keith Thurman once again reiterated this would be for undisputed. So Keith Thurman, he knew this wasn't a slip up, this wasn't by accident, it was purposely done. Keith Thurman, he knew and understood and looked at the situation and said the 3 belts. That's why he said the 3 belts for undisputed. Now, once upon a time, the WBO wasn't seen as or viewed as one of the 4 major sanction bodies. There was 3 major sanction bodies: the IBF, WBA, and WBC. WBO is Johnny come lately. So, a lot of people, a lot of world champions at that point in time that were undisputed, they didn't hold it. That's why you don't have many 4 major sanction belt holders in this current climate of the sport of boxing. They're small class, okay? Bernard Hopkins, Jermaine Taylor, Carissa Shields, Terence Crawford, Josh Taylor now, Oleksandr Usyk. You know, it's a small class. Katie Taylor and Cecilia Brækhus, you know, Jessica McCaskill. This is a very small knit type group that held all 4 major sanction bodies. And so Keith Thurman, he's viewing this as undisputed for Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. And obviously he wants an opportunity to fight the winner of this fight. He's picking Errol Spence to win the fight, but he's saying that Manny Pacquiao, if he has an effort as the such that he put out against him, he's very crafty, he's very unorthodox, he's very quick and explosive, and so Errol Spence has never seen anything like him. But he gave Errol Spence a lot of praise. He said that Errol Spence has beautiful hooks, Errol Spence has beautiful body work, beautiful timing. He judges distance well. He can open his stance very wide, where he could give you a plethora of punches from that stance, an uppercut, a hook. You know, he says when he gets you on the ropes, he likes to have his lead foot on the outside so he could throw hooks and with power, and he could dig to your body with his left hand. So he gave Errol Spence a lot of credit and a lot of praise in this interview. Shout out to Nestor Gibbs in this interview, okay? So with that said, he dismissed Terence Crawford. Now we know he, according to reports, he asked for $10 million to fight Terence Crawford. Bob Arum, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter, Bob Arum was unwilling to put up that amount of money. Bob Arum even stated that he could watch Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman find another promoter, put up that kind of money, and he'll buy a ticket ringside to watch them lose money, okay? So it's safe to say Bob Arum's not high on the Terence Crawford-Keith Thurman fight. And Terence Crawford and his team, they stated that he was pricing himself out of the fight. Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman would be a huge fight. Keith Thurman didn't lose badly to Manny Pacquiao. Keith Thurman, he was dropped in the first round. He was badly hurt in the 10th round. Looked like he could be stopped, but he closed the gap. Split decision victory for Manny Pacquiao, who's a legend. So Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Terence Crawford would be a huge fight. Now, we know reports are stating that Terence Crawford, well, he's going to exit Top Rank. He's a free agent in October, and he's looking to make way, okay? So Terence Crawford, Keith Thurman would be a huge fight. I believe they have a lot of similarities. Terence Crawford is a wiry frame. You know, he has a lot of power. He's knocked out his last 6 opponents. Now, some people will tell you it's not the highest of quality of opponents, but nonetheless, he got knockouts in his last 6 fights, dating back from his last fight against Julius Indongo for Undisputed at junior welterweight, going through his 5 fights at welterweight, okay? Terence Crawford is viewed as the best fighter in the world. Keith Thurman, once upon a time, was viewed as the best welterweight in the world. He only has 1 loss. But inactivity for Keith Thurman is what hinders Keith Thurman. Out of sight, out of mind. So this would be a huge fight, technically skilled fight. I would favor, personally, Terence Crawford because Keith Thurman has shown his biggest weakness is body. Terence Crawford changes levels. He's a dog. He can get on the inside. He can go to the body. You know, he can switch from orthodox to southpaw. He can give you different angles. I believe Terence Crawford will win the fight. But it would be a hard-fought, very high-speed, technical, skilled showdown. I would love to see Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman. But Keith Thurman dismisses him. He said the fight between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao is for Undisputed. And he goes on to say, you know, he'll become undisputed. He beats Manny Pacquiao. Now, we all know the biggest fight in the sport of boxing is Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. That's the fight that everybody wants to see. The boxing world is clamoring for. It's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. Hopefully, Errol Spence says he gets past Manny Pacquiao. He says hopefully he can make a fight and get a deal done with Terence Crawford. Biggest fight in the sport of boxing. If not, he's moving to junior middleweight, 154. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. You already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
You're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.